Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. KG is back. It is time for a brand new video, and this is the follow-up to the cool down that I did last night. Usually I do the cool down the day after, but it was an emergency stream as I feel Leeds United and Daniel Farke need to part ways in this international break. And I gave my full reasoning and breakdown as to why. So if you haven't seen that one, go and watch that video and I'll link it at the end as well. This video is going to be about managerial candidates that we've been linked with. And as you can see from the thumbnail, haven't been linked with, but what I want to see at Leeds United next and what I don't want to see. And I want to hear from you who your candidate would be too. Before I get into that, please like the video. It's free to do, helps out the channel. Thank you to Mark Holmes for the continued support with the pledge he made at the start of the season. I wish it was on goals conceded, Mark. I really do. Thank you, though. And thank you to Phil as well for the super thanks. Big up to all members of the channel. You make this thing go. So thank you for the continued support. And like I said in yesterday's video, for me, it should be the end of the road like boys to men for Daniel Farke. We just need something new. We need something unpredictable. We need something that can change and adapt. And this man isn't it. You know, in the Forest game, the result was bad enough, but his post-match comments were appalling for me. You know, in the position we're in and the results that we've had lately, they were appalling. And it just shows to me that this man is never going to learn. But according to the YEP, and they do get a few bits and pieces right when it comes to Leeds United, this is what Graham Smith's opinion was. There was anger in the away end at full time. For the 49er enterprises, the in-stadium disgruntlement is so much more tangible than the online discourse, but the YEP does not anticipate a change at this stage. The credit Farke was given for adapting his style and earning what is still a point per game average will not dissipate over the course of a couple of weeks and negative results. They were patient in the extreme with Russell Martin at Ibrox and slow to act, though the circumstances and personalities involved bear obvious differences. And those are the things that I've said lately. Even though I do think that we should change manager, I don't see him doing it because we're at the bottom three. That's the first thing. The other thing is the whole point per game thing. I think they're still banking on that, even though we've had a good set of fixtures and we've got a rough set coming up, which will make that point per game thing disappear very quickly. I think they're still banking on where we are at this moment in time with the style that he's implemented going, you know, so far that they've seen. I don't think they're going to do that. And when you compare it to Russell Martin and the anger that Rangers fans were giving him, some of the abuse he was getting, some of the things that were going on, you're not going to get any of that probably at Leeds United. You know, the last time something like that happened was when Chilino was in charge, wasn't it? So I don't see them changing, but I've got to give some, you know, solutions as to who I would want in next and who I wouldn't. But what I need to make clear as well for the Farke outers is that this isn't going to be a Farke out channel. Okay. I will always call things as I see it. When the information changes, my opinion will change. And as always, if he does something right in the upcoming games, I'm going to give him credit. You know, nothing is going to change from that just because I do think he needs to be replaced. I need to make that clear, okay? Because I don't want, you know, any Farke outers coming here and saying, "No, you can't give him credit for that." No, I can, because that's how I do. That's how I do things over here. So I just need to make that clear for anyone that's pure Farke out. If you're Farke out, Farke in, it makes no difference to me. I'm going to always call it as I see it. Now, my ideal candidate, who is unrealistic for me, is Thiago Motta. This is the person that I said we should have got in the summer. I also mentioned Cesc Fabregas in the summer, but he was never going to leave Como. He rejected higher jobs than Leeds United. But Thiago Motta was definitely a candidate they could have got. With the money that they had as well, just think about the players he could have attracted and brought to Leeds United. It would have been so different to what we've got now under Daniel Farke. And I just don't see him coming to a team that's 16th in the league with the squad that they have. We don't have the squad of a West Ham that had a Bowen, a Paqueta in there. We don't have that. We don't have a Forest where we've got Gibbs White and many other, you know, pieces in there that you can work with, and Murillo at the back, Milinkovic at the back. We don't have that. And someone in the comments said that you're underestimating the pull of the Premier League. I don't underestimate it, but we've been in this position before where we've sacked Jesse Marsh, tried to go for Iriola, and he said, "Nah, I'm good, mate. You know, you know, if you're still in the Premier League in the summer, come and speak to me, but I'm not going to take over at this point." And I just don't see Thiago Motta doing it. But if they were to do it and he did come, it would beg the question, why didn't you just get it done in the summer? You know, so this is my unrealistic shout who I would want. Give me yours in the comments, and please don't say anything, you know, crazy like Pep. You know, that's not going to happen. I'm going to bring up Pep in a minute as well, because Marco Rose has been linked. And somebody left a comment on the live stream. I can't even remember who it was, but it was so asinine. It was, if Marco Rose got sacked by Leipzig, why would we want him? First of all, every manager in the main gets sacked. Every single manager. And it would be like saying if Pep got sacked from Man City, oh no, we wouldn't want him. If Why would we have him? It's ridiculous. Leipzig were, they finished outside the Champions League places, and I'm sure that was a big part of it. But they're in a completely different level to what we're playing at. So Marco Rose would actually be coming down to Leeds United in order to, get a job. It wouldn't be that we're too big for him. He'd be going, well, this isn't a Champions League bound club. This isn't a club that's anywhere near Europe, but I'm willing to give it a go. So, silly comments like that. I don't get why people say stuff like that. But Marco Rose, anyway, manager that is a high pressing manager, can play in a 4-4-2, can play the adaptable 4-3-3. I can see why he would be a candidate with this squad of players as well. But would he want to come at this stage? That's another question with itself. I don't know. I think it's a little bit more possible than say a Thiago Motta, but Marco Rose, out of probably all the names I'm going to mention, is somebody that I would say is my number one choice out of these ones. And these are the only ones I'm mentioning today, obviously. Brendan Rodgers is another one that's been linked. Now, Brendan, I've said before, he's a sugar rush manager. He seems to be good for like the first year and a half, but after that, he seems to get bored with you. Now, I like Brendan Rodgers' style of play. He's obviously a successful manager in Scotland, and he's won FA Cups here with Leicester. So he knows what it takes to be successful. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think it's long term. But does that matter at this point? For me, I would like a long term manager just for the continuity and everything else and the stability of the football club. But Brendan Rodgers, it didn't go well for him at Leicester. Let's put it that way. And some of the signings there, I completely disagreed with, whether it was him or whatever. You having, guys like Harry Winks, Jordan Ayew, and who's the other big-headed player in midfield? I always forget his name, man. Always forget his Oliver Skip. There we go. So yeah, that would be a bit worrying for me. But if you're talking a style of play, could it be Brendan Rodgers? Maybe. But it's one of those where we cross that bridge when we come to it if he was to be appointed. Another one we've mentioned before, because of the conversations that he's had in the summer with the 49ers around the Rangers job, is Steven Gerrard. This is one where it's kind of like, has he learned from Aston Villa? It didn't really go great for him in the Middle East either. But he's a name, isn't he? And he's someone that I think commands respect from the players because of people remember him playing still. He's not that far removed from playing. Players that are playing now would have loved Steven Gerrard as they were growing up. So it is one where you go, hmm. And also with 49ers, I've said it before, I really do think that Steven Gerrard would have said, now this Rangers job isn't right for me. But you know what? If that Leeds job's come available, give me a call. And it wouldn't be out the realm of possibility, would it, if that was to happen? So yeah, Steven Gerrard is another name that I think will be linked with the club. I think he's in the bookies odds as well. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that one. Gary O'Neill is been mentioned as well. For me, this is a no, just purely because when I think of Gary O'Neill, I just think of a dry lunch. I think it's just so boring, and maybe that's what we need. But the job he did at Bournemouth was fine, but what a lot of people forget is that he lost the last 4 games for Bournemouth for the season. Now, if he was to do that at Bournemouth, at Leeds United, losing the last 4 games, I mean, we might be relegated by them, but we'd definitely be relegated by them with the point totals that we probably will have at that stage of the season. So, even though he did an okay job at Bournemouth, it wasn't perfect, which is why he got removed and they got a better coach in Iriola. Wolves, yeah, he did fine there. I just think that he's probably his next step is a championship club, and I think he is linked with the Southampton job. So maybe that's his next port of call. I don't know, but for me, Gary O'Neill is not something that I would be overly pleased with if it was to happen. I think it would just be very yeah. But maybe you guys would like Gary O'Neill. Let me know. Um, Honorable mention to Ange, purely because he's in the running. This is one I definitely don't want. I don't rate Ange Postecoglou one bit. Shout out to him for winning the Europa League. That is very good. But his league form is horrendous. Outside of Scotland and wherever he's been before, his league form stinks. And his style of play, he would be, I've said before, his Bielsa light. It's all out attack, little emphasis on defense, and he's very stubborn. especially when it comes to set pieces. Now, if you're going to be stubborn to set pieces in this version of the Premier League, especially, you're going to get killed every single week. So for me, Ange Postecoglou, absolutely not for me. So I would not like to see this happen. Now, there's someone on the thumbnail, and people are probably going, Cage, what are you up to? What are you up to, Cage, with Frank Lampard of all people? Now, guys, I'm not saying that this is even possible or even plausible. But remember, as I said, when the information changes, so does my opinion. Okay. And this is a guy that I've said I just dislike the guy. I do. I think that he comes across as arrogant. He's another one that doesn't take his own faults, and own it. But he's doing something really good at Coventry, and they're playing some good football. Again, championship, I understand, but has he learned from the last time? And that's what you'd be hoping for with managers. We've obviously got a manager now that hasn't learned, but is there, if Frank Lampard was to be appointed, would you be upset? It could be one of those things as well. And you know what I'm talking about here. You might have someone at work, and you don't get along with them. It's the opposite sex, same sex if you swing that way. But you're mean to each other. And you're like, no, I don't like you. And then they're like, I don't like you either. And then all of a sudden, you find yourselves alone and you're having a laugh and you're going, I thought you didn't like me. It's like, well, I didn't think you liked me either. Now, could that be the same thing for Frank Lampard and Leeds, minus the kissing? You just never know. There's crazier things that have happened in football. We've had Neil Warnock as manager. Who would have ever thought that would have happened? We signed El Hadj Diouf. Who would have ever thought that would have happened? Frank Lampard at Leeds. It almost it almost kind of like makes sense in a way. I don't know. Maybe the whole Chelsea thing would be too much for some people. Maybe his previous behavior because of the whole Derby thing would be too much. But as we've seen with Jaden Bogle and somebody else as well who was involved in that, it would have been Harry Wilson if he had come. People get over stuff, don't they? But yeah, Frank Lampard's doing really well right now. I'm not saying he's a candidate, but what say you if he was to be? What say you? But listen, there's obviously other names out there, and I'm sure you guys will throw them in the comments. But I just need something else. And also with Frank Lampard, I kind of want that aura and arrogance of I know I'm great and I want to be great as well. I need that. I'm tired of the loser mentality that's seeped into this football club, especially with this manager that doesn't think anything is a must win, that poor performances away from home because we've had more possession is a win. That's not a positive, people. We need someone that has high standards. And if there's one thing Frank Lampard has, it is high standards. So I know it sounds like I'm caping for him that he should come. I'm just saying I don't think I'd be mad at it. And it's a complete 180 from how I spoke about Frank Lampard 2 years ago for sure. But it just shows you, is it? If the information changes, so does the opinion. But listen, people, I'm going to leave it there because I'm sure this won't be the last one. But give me your names. Try and be realistic if you can. I know some people are not going to be, and I'll look forward to reading those too. But yeah, give me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you would do. Hit a like on the video, and I'll see you in the next one, people. Peace out.